Hi, this is Mike from BandLab, and in this video we're going to look at how you can make your first beat in BandLab using the included sounds. You can open this project yourself with the link in the video description, and if you find this guide useful, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be the first to know when new videos drop. Even if you've never made music before, BandLab makes creating your own beats quick and simple. The easiest way for beginners to make music in BandLab is to use the included and ever-growing free sample library, BandLab Sounds. When you create a new project in BandLab, you'll be presented with the new track screen. Here you can choose to add various types of tracks. To access BandLab's sample library, I click the BandLab Sounds button. In BandLab Sounds, we can search the sample packs by genre. Let's say I want to make a trap beat. I enter trap into the text search field. BandLab Sounds will show me a selection of trap-related sample packs. I can view more by clicking the View All option. I'm going to start by checking out Trap Volume 1. I click on it to open it, and BandLab will show me all the samples it contains. By clicking the play buttons, I can audition each sample to hear how it sounds. Let's listen to some of the synth samples in this pack. I like the sound of Trap Volume 1 Synth 02, and I think this would be a good starting point for my project. I could see that this sample's original tempo is 140 beats per minute, and I'd like to try using this sound without speeding it up or slowing it down. So I set the project tempo to 140 beats per minute by double-clicking the tempo parameter and entering the new value. I then drag Trap Volume 1 Synth 02 into the project. BandLab asks if I want to set the project key to the same key as the sample, E minor. This isn't mandatory, but if I do set the project key, BandLab will know to transpose any new samples I add to that key so that they sound good together. So I select Set. We can listen to the sample playback by pressing the space key or clicking the play icon. To return the playhead to the start of the project, you can press Return or Enter, or click the Go to Beginning button. We can loop a section of the project by activating cycle mode. To do this, press C or click the cycle button. Let's add some more elements. I'd like to add a drum beat sample next, so I check out some of the drum samples. I like the sound of Trap Volume 1 Drums 01, so I drag that into the project. I move this sample to the beginning of the project so that it sits under the synth sample. Now when I play back the project, we hear both samples play at once. This sounds pretty cool, but we need a big booming bass line. I think Trap Volume 1 Bass 02 would work well with the existing elements, so I add that too. This is sounding pretty good so far, and I'd like to add a vocal sample next, but there aren't any in this pack. We don't have to search pack by pack for samples, we could search everything in BandLab Sounds at once. I click the Loops tab and set the instrument filter to Voice. The number next to Voice shows us that there are currently more than 1,000 samples that fit this description in BandLab Sounds. That's going to take a while to search through, so let's refine the search by setting the genre filter too. I set the genre filter to Hip Hop Trap, and I can see that this will refine the search down to just over 100 vocals, which is a little more manageable. I like the sound of Let Me Know 145 C# minor Vox Choir, so I drag this into the project and take a listen. I like how this sounds, apart from the note on bar 4. Let's try rearranging this sample to see if we can make something more pleasing. I click the audio clip to make sure it's selected, then click on the timeline on bar 4 to put the playhead there. I can now split the sample by pressing S or by right-clicking and selecting Slice. This splits the audio clip in two. I select the clip on the right and delete it by pressing Delete or by right-clicking and selecting Delete. I want the first note of the sample to play again on bar 4, so I duplicate the sample over. To duplicate a clip in BandLab, hold Option on Mac or Alt on Windows and drag it over. I then use the handle at the bottom right-hand corner of the clip to shorten it. I like how that sounds, but I'd really like a cymbal crash to play on the first beat of the bar. So far we've used just loop samples, which are selections of music designed to play repeatedly. However, sometimes we'll want to use a sound that just plays once without looping. To find these kinds of sounds, we could use the One Shots tab. I click this tab and enter Crash into the text search field. Crash-based sounds like it might be a good fit, so I drag that into the project and position it on bar 1. This sound is disproportionately loud relative to the other elements of the mix. Also, we can see that when it plays, it's causing the master meter to turn red, showing that we're clipping the master, which is something we want to avoid. So, we need to turn the crash's volume level down. To do this, we simply drag the track's volume fader down. I'm going to go for a level of -12 dB. For fine control over this parameter, hold Shift as you drag it. The crash now has a more appropriate volume level. Now I'm going to create an 8-bar section by duplicating out the synth, drums, bass, and vocal elements. To do this, I select them, and again hold Option on Mac or Alt on Windows before I drag them over. Now rather than having a crash every 4 bars, it'll only play at the start of the 8-bar section. I drag the loop region out to bar 9 to hear how this sounds. We now have an 8-bar sequence that we can use as the basis of a simple arrangement. So, let's make a simple arrangement right now. I close BandLab Sounds and zoom the arrangement out using the Zoom Out button. I duplicate the 8 bars out 3 times to make a 32-bar arrangement. I'd like the elements to come in and out to give the arrangement some variation. So I delete the bass and vocals on the first 8 bars, and the vocals on the second set of 8 bars. I also delete the synth on the last 8 bars. I turn cycle mode off and hear how the track sounds. I'm pretty happy with this, and while the track is less than a minute long, we can simply duplicate it out again to give us a track that's nearly 2 minutes. Now I name the track, and click the Save button to save my progress. I can export my track to an audio file by selecting File, Download, Mix Down As. Here you can choose the file format to save your sound as. For maximum quality, I use the WAV option. You can fork this project and make your own version of it using the link in the video description. Have fun!